Well, welcome back, everybody. And that was a wonderful interview with Elizabeth May and a real breath of fresh air. Somebody trying to bring a little democracy to this country. On a little more local issue, of course, is the discussion around this fiasco that's known as the sewage treatment plant and the plans around the CRD to develop a new way to treat sewage in Victoria, which is going to cost us a whole lot of money and is not really going to work. Who we have with us today is Richard Atwell. He's with stopabadplan.ca, and as the name implies, they don't think the sewage treatment plant is a good idea. And Richard recently has uncovered some other facts and issues around the situation that really the public should become aware of, and how these decisions were made to go ahead with this treatment plant in the first place. So welcome, Richard. Great to have you here. You know, it's a little bit complicated how this all came down and how these numbers came about to come up with what type of treatment they wanted to do with this with the sewage treatment in Victoria, and of course there was a discussion about getting into a third level of treatment in Victoria for sewage, which would be a great idea. Most people would agree, but that was poo-pooed mostly because, I believe, of the cost. But I think you've now uncovered some of the process that they went through in order to come to the decision that third level treatment was not going to be viable. So maybe we can just go over that a little bit.
Sure, you know, so there's three levels of treatment: primary, secondary, tertiary. Tertiary is really where you want to go.
Yeah.
It's where most cities are heading to right now. And what it does is it recovers the water, makes the water like a near drinking quality or better. And water is really the resource in sewage. It's mostly water, and you want to try to recover the water somehow. The biological material, you can make gas from it. It's not that viable. You don't get a lot from it. But the water, which is the precious resource of the future, is what you want to retain. So CRD's come up with this plan to build a treatment plant at McLaughlin Point, and no matter what level of treatment they put in there, and they're currently planning for secondary, they're just going to flush this treated water out to the ocean. Now, this is something that doesn't happen in Regina. It doesn't happen in Edmonton. They have no ocean. They're forced to go to a high level of treatment and put the water back into the ecosystem, clean it up, make it safe, and so forth. CRD plan isn't doing that at all. It's just going to flush it out to sea. So what you want to do is you want to design a modern system. You want to be able to get the water to the homes. And the best way to do that is through a decentralized model. You've got 15 to 20 plants or so. They're situated all over the place. Some of them are on top of pumping stations that exist. Some are in the corner of parks. You know, existing property that the municipality owns. It doesn't have to go out and find locations. It doesn't have to find a big site. So you have it decentralized, and then the way you get the recycled water to the homes is, of course, you've got to dig up the streets, which is expensive. But over a period of, say, 20 years, you've got to dig up the streets anyways. The pipes are cracked, they have to be replaced, road repairs have to be done, and much in the same way that natural gas was run through the suburbs over a 20-year period, you would get recycled water to the homes. And the first application of that would be irrigation, right? You hook it up to the double check valve, it powers your sprinkler system, and right away you're using recycled water to water your lawn.
And agricultural purposes would be perfect for that, wouldn't it?
They're doing this in Vernon.
Yeah.
In Vernon, they recycle the water. They have a special reservoir from it, and it's used all over the place. Contrast that, you know, future that we could have with what we have now, right? We've got watering restrictions.
Yeah.
Okay? If we have all this water, why are we on watering restrictions?
Yeah.
None of that makes sense. So I started to look into why the CRD hasn't gone down this route, why they haven't gone for a distributed model. And the main reason is the cost. They've said many times over that it's going to cost $2 billion to develop it. So
that's to develop a third level of treatment.
Well, basically, you do tertiary level treatment if you went distributed. There would be no point doing a secondary level.
Yeah.
The technology is miniaturized. It's like Dockside Green at the Sioux Harbor House. They're just small packs, and they're put into a little pit, and then in goes sewage, and out comes, you know, clean water after a few other processes. So you really want to go to that system. But the $2 billion cost was just too prohibitive. So I was at a CRD meeting, and at the meeting, I gave a presentation, and I said, if you look at the Dockside Green plant, it's looking like it's an affordable way of doing it. It's a proven technology. It's been around for a while. CRD plan is to put, you know, shovel in the ground in 2014 based on a 2010 design, based on 2007 technology. Yet here in our backyard, we have this dockside approach.
Yeah.
How much would it cost to roll it out? So I postulated this to the directors, and I said at the meeting that there's an economy of scale here that's not being addressed. So Pam Madoff, CRD alternate director, asked the CRD staff and said, are these numbers right? Are our numbers right? Is it going to cost $2 billion? And the CRD staff came back and they said, well, it can treat this much, and yeah, it would cost $2 billion. So I went down to the plant and I interviewed the staff that worked
At
there.
Dockside Green.
At Dockside Green.
Yeah.
And I asked them, how much can it treat? And it turned out that it could treat double what the CRD said it could treat. Now, the equipment's not there, okay? Most of it's there. Out of the $4 million cost, only $150,000 of it is there for providing treatment.
So it's just basically there waiting to be needed.
Another $150,000, which is a tiny amount out of the $4 million, and you double the treatment capacity. And what that essentially does is it reduces the cost of a distributed system by $1 billion, right off the bat.
$1 billion.
Their math is wrong by $1 billion because they
50%
underestimated
off.
the capacity. Yeah, it's amazing.
So, I mean, what's astonishing for me, and to hear this story, is that somebody came up with these numbers. It doesn't sound very scientific to me. I don't know for sure how they dreamt the numbers up. There's a rationale for it, but it certainly isn't scientific. And we've gone this far into the process based upon somebody scratching their head and coming up with a number.
It's akin to napkin math. I mean, when I went looking for, you know, the data to corroborate what the employees at the facility were telling me, I found a Van City report. Van City built Dockside Green, and it says right in the report, you know, it treats twice what the CRD staff has said. And this report was delivered in 2009. So for 4 years, we've known what the potential is.
Richard, we're going to have to stop right here, but you know, we're going to be talking about this a lot more. And what strikes me is the fact that when we look at how the CRD is operating and what Elizabeth was just saying about the lack of democracy, lack of oversight, there just simply doesn't seem to be any accountability. They seem to be able to march down this road, and all the good citizens that are trying to pull back are receiving so much flack, like yourself, as you know. But it's been wonderful that you came by, and I'm sure we're going to have you on a few more times, and the public has to learn the facts of this case.
Well, thanks, Walt. I encourage people to go to stopabadplan.ca and watch the video and see it for themselves.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Take care.